All right. Thank you so much, Stella, Radhika, and team, to give me this privilege to be here. It's such an honor to be joining all of you this morning, and thank you for taking your time out to, come over and engage, learn, and have some insights about what's happening currently in the environment of waste management. It's a privilege. First of all, I'll start by a small key opening remark. It's a privilege to stand before you today to discuss one of the most pressing challenges of our time, waste management. Every day, our planet faces increasing pressure from the sheer volume of waste we produce. From plastic pollution to the food waste, the way we manage or fail to manage our waste has profound implications for our environment, our health, and our future. But within this challenge lies immense opportunity. Waste management is not just about disposal, it's about rethinking our entire approach to resources, consumption, and sustainability. Today, we have the chance to turn the tide, transforming waste from a problem into a solution. Together, we can shift from a throwaway culture to one that values recycling, reusing, and reducing waste at its source. Let's explore how we can turn innovation, policy, and collaboration into powerful tools for positive change. The future depends on the choices we make today, so let's make them count. So I hope you'll all learn something and take something back home with you, because for me, since I came into Dubai in 2009, just as a small telephone operator, I've learned a lot, and I've really been passionate about, doing the small little changes from back of house, from back in the house where I live. So it just goes a long way when you do the little small steps at home. It starts at home and it goes all the way out here. Without further ado, I'll also introduce Rayya Jawhar, who is the director in Buro Happold. For the past 15 years, she has supported clients from across the public and private sector, developing and implementing sustainability strategies across sectors, cities, and buildings. She has worked closely with clients across projects, supporting them in defining sustainability commitments, translating those commitments into strategies and action plans, as well as supporting them to roll them out. Rayya is a wild strategist. Over the years, she has ensured that sustainability strategies from city level to individual buildings are not only inspirational and cutting edge, but also implementable. She is passionate about motivating individuals and organizations to embark on sustainability transformation journeys. Rayya has completed a degree in civil and environmental engineering and a master's in energy and environmental technology, providing the foundation of a knowledge on energy, water, and waste systems. Rayya has completed circular economy and sustainability strategy courses in University of Cambridge. So she will be taking us through sustainability waste reduction in hotels. Welcome, Rayya. A round of applause for Rayya. Thank you so much.
Let me just make sure. Okay, great. Good morning, everyone, and thanks a lot, Samuel, by kind of highlighting the challenge, but more importantly, the opportunity that we want to explore today with all of you. So what I'm keen to do in the next few minutes is just to give a little bit information on the challenge, on the scale of the challenge, and what we can do collectively to tackle this. And hopefully it's a conversation that we will take in the panel discussion. So really starting with, I always get very, very impressed by kind of like looking at the size of the problem. Yes, waste is a problem, but how big of a problem? And the total amount of waste that we generate globally is 1.2 the height of Everest. Imagine that. What would that mean? That means that there is an environmental footprint, there is emission, there is an environmental impact, but more importantly also, it's impact to the people, impact to the cities, impact to the development that we're in. More regionally, we're also high in terms of waste per capita. So probably this is not the latest figures, but this gives an indication of the amount of waste that we're generating in the Middle East in comparison to the world average. So there is a large problem around waste generation, and that's to some extent the size of the problem. Moving on to the hospitality sector and moving on to hotels. So how much do really hotels generate per room, per person? And it has been a conversation and it has been a debate, and obviously there is a need to have a consolidated baseline, a regional consolidated baseline. But we've done a very interesting study in one of the GCCs to kind of get to a number between 1.5 to 2.5 kilogram per visitor per night. Where does this stand? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it red? Is it green? Currently, as per the global standard, it is kind of considered to be excessive. But looking at what is the waste generated by hotels, what is the breakdown, and what can we do with that? It's interesting to look at the breakdown, and again, that's one of the breakdown from one of the projects that we work closely with, and it varies and it could vary, but it's interesting to see that the majority of the waste generated by hotels, which is food waste, which is plastic, which is paper, are all recoverable, recyclable waste. So whereas maybe at this stage there is a low proportion and low rate for recycling, the breakdown stipulates that there is a large potential. And the good news is that the cities and the region we're in have very robust recycling targets that are coming to play in the few years. So infrastructure is coming, policy is coming, and looking at really inside out and the waste generation, there is possibilities and opportunities to kind of recycle and recover that waste. And then just before we move to kind of solutions, I just wanted to kind of like pick on some of the facts that we drew from the surveys and from the study that we've done in the region. What are the hotels doing in terms of waste management? What are the real challenges as all of you talk? And I'm more than happy to pick on that and discuss that later on in the panel discussions, but I just want to highlight a few things. It was obvious that there was a disparity or there was a disconnect between large chain and small chain. And then Talid mentioned also the differences between 5 stars and 3 stars. But what really this means is that whereas in some instances there are more initiatives being done by larger chains, there was a call for actions from the smaller chains requiring knowledge share, requiring lessons learned, requiring to sit and discuss and learn from people who have already started the journey. The very interesting thing that we also find as part of that survey is that there was 62% of hotels that were already doing a program. Whether it's a recycling program, whether it's a program regarding reduction of waste, there was always an initiative across all of these hotels. But what was maybe missing is a strategy, a direction, right? There was those different combination of programs, but there wasn't always a clear strategy that sets the objectives and the targets for the accommodations and for the hotel sector. And lastly, there was waste is, and I'm pretty sure you resonate with that. It's easy to measure energy. We have it on our bill. It's easy to kind of assess the impact of our intervention. It's easy to deploy intervention. Waste is a little bit more complex. And waste was probably the least tackled area. And what this calls for is really the importance and the call for understanding the baseline, understanding generation. Almost done. So what one can do, and we can talk about a series of intervention, but what I really want to focus on, and specifically being an engineer, the starting point should always be understanding where we are. Starting point should be understanding the baseline, understanding the waste generation, understanding the waste breakdown, understanding the problem, but therefore the opportunity. And the next step is defining the direction. What are we trying to achieve? Yes, recycling is one element, but going back to what Samuel has mentioned, it is important to look at it holistically. Started from reduction, to reuse, to repair, to recycling, to recovery. And then most of you resonate with some of those strategies that are kind of mapped against that hierarchy. But there is a lot that hotels can do around reducing single-use toiletry, reducing the use of paper through digitization, reducing food waste through menu planning, and rethinking the concept of buffet in some instances, and happy to pick up on that. But also awareness plays a big role. One thing that I really want to highlight, it's reducing waste is also about reduction of material. And reduction of material that are not recyclable is key. In the bottle of shampoo, there is a number of plastic types that makes it impossible to recycle. Let's think about procuring material that can be recycled. So thinking about material also beyond waste. And from a reuse perspective, and I know this is probably embedded in most of the hotels, is trying to reduce towels and linen as part of possible. And in terms of recycling, when probably maybe decentralizing recycling within hotel or having the recycling facilities or others in hotel is a bit tricky, it is extremely important to kind of think about sorting of waste as it's the key enabler for recycling at that city level. I'm not going to dwell too much into this because it comes from you. These are the initiatives that everyone is doing, but what I'm keen kind of like to explore in the panel in some of the challenges around maybe scaling and embedding this across the different assets and hotels. That's it from me.
Thank you so much, Rayya. I'm sure you all love the bell, right? Thank you. Wonderful, lovely presentation. Next on stage is Enas Sobhy Ali. She is the head of corporate social responsibility at Tadweer Waste Treatment, leading the education and awareness initiatives or programs with more than 12 years of experience in sustainable waste management industry. She did so far more than 1,200 educational sessions and workshops for more than 40,000 kids in schools, universities, and corporates from 6 years to senior adults or in regards to waste reduction awareness. Her education spans where she has acquired Certified Behavioral Change Modification Certification, Certified ICF Family, Health and Wellness Coach by International Coaching Federation. She is a hypnosis practitioner. I hope you won't hypnotize us. And at last, passionate about mother dreaming for raising more sustainable adults. Welcome on stage. Please, a warm round of applause to her. Thank you.
Okay. Hi. It's working? Hi, good morning. I'm super happy to be here today. Thank you, Radhika, and the team. A pleasure to share with Rayya and Samuel the stage. Chocolate. And you have a broccoli, or cucumber, or carrot. The majority of the people will go for dessert because sustainable lifestyle, healthy lifestyle is not easy. It's not giving us the happiness. We are taking the happiness from the unhealthy lifestyle behaviors. That's why we are in Tadweer, concentrate more on the mindset because we are believing that it starts from our mindset. We need the people to change from consumption mindset to conservation mindset. And go back for us. Try to remember when you was a child. For me, I'm from Egypt. And I remember my grandmother and father. They have a big farm. She was planting everything. And we have one signboard there. It's no waste, Na'matullah. Every time we're going to my grandmother, I remember how she was too smart. By the way, she's not a sustainability graduate. She didn't go for a college, university, nothing. But she was acting sustainability very well. She have a very beautiful farm. I remember it was all greens. We can smell a pure air. We cannot see this today, by the way. And she, for example, if she have a strawberry, she will sit, come Enas, and then I will sit beside her, and then she will start to say, we have this. We will divide it into 3 parts. The first one, this is what we will eat during this weekend. The second one, we will freeze it. And the third one, let's use a magic and convert it into jam or pickles. Then wow, by default, every one of us have these values. But because of the technology, because of the luxury lifestyle, we change. But my question, are you and you and you and me ready to sacrifice our luxury lifestyle to save the planet? Think on this. Today, I will go through an open eye journey. I hope to open for you and to see what's happening because of our behaviors, because of our consumption, because of our buying. And you have the willpower by the end to decide what you will do. So worldwide are generating more than 2.1 billion metric ton from the municipal solid waste, the normal houses waste that coming from houses and small businesses. What happened to this? You can imagine that more than 30 million metric square meter, it's dumping into landfill every day. Do you know that every 1 minute, there is a 60 ton are dumping into landfill? And it's absolutely the reason for 2 billion tons of CO2 from landfill annually. And you can imagine that by 2050, they will be increasing roughly by 70%. The waste will reach to 3.4 billion. This is a classification for the normal waste that coming from the houses. And there is 400 million ton from plastic are generating every year. Every second, we are talking now, and every 1 minute, there is 160,000 plastic bags in use. What happened for all of this? Actually, it's going for landfill, and we cannot actually ignore the food waste. Third of the food that is generating globally, and it's ready for us to eat, it's went for waste or lost. We are speaking about 1.3 million tons. While every 10 seconds, there is 1 child or die or suffer from hunger. And every year, more than 800 million people are dying and suffering from hunger. So I believe it's now a must to take an actions for saving this and to changing from the linear economy to a circular economy. Because as you know, even for the food, in all the stages of food, they are generating waste. In the agriculture, in the harvest, in the collection, in the delivery, in the manufacturing. I'm sorry. So, what's happened to the waste? It's going, as you can see, for landfill, and every 1 minute, one truck of plastic dumping into our ocean. By 2050, I believe that there will be no space for fish because plastic will cover all of our oceans. And here's some of the key causes of the waste in the hospitality or for the hotels: outdated equipment, lack of recycling program, customer plate waste, menu change, overstocking supplies, lack of training for the proper training for the people, and food preparation waste. I'm sorry, I'm very fast because drink. And this is some of the steps. I know that if we're gonna speak about putting infrastructure for waste management, it's very important for the hotels, for the business to care about the money. So what about using a practical, easy ways to make posts to save money and save waste? This is the smallest steps you can start, like waste auditing, source reduction, recycling program, composting, and collaboration with the charity and for UAE Food Bank for the food, eco-friendly bulk material, promote leftover doggy, education and training, which is very important, and we are believing that it's one of the key factors for changing the waste management industry. And here's, I will give you, this is a small and short video about Tadweer and what we are doing and how we are saving this waste from landfill, how we are diverted as much as we can what we send to landfill. So please enjoy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Enas. That was a very lovely presentation. Sorry.
I'd just like to inform everyone that we've set timers for your presentation. So if we could follow that so that we are on schedule. Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder. I'll make it fast. All right. Again, I just wanted to start first of all by welcoming you again. I believe personally that waste is a big area where we all need to focus on when it comes to educating first of all our families back home, because it has to start from your homes. Before it even goes down into your business, waste discussions should start from the house. You should start segregating from the house. We don't want to see young children or our families pouring used cooking oil into the sinks. We want to recycle the used cooking oils. We want to make sure that the aluminum cans coming from your houses, your plastic bottles are being segregated so that it's also a lesson for your children, and it's something that you also take back to work. Otherwise, if it does not start from your house, it's going to be a bit difficult to roll it out at work. So where's the clicker? Okay, perfect. I'm not going to run a lot through the slides, but I'll start first of all by sharing with you this quote. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. This is something that I've always heard a lot from a very good friend of mine, because what's the essence of you trying to do an initiative if you cannot measure it? I'll take you back to this slide again, and I'll explain why. Now, on screen here, these are the most common things that you'll see the hoteliers or the hotel champions recycling back of house, all right? So you'll find used carton boxes, plastic boxes, used cooking oil, food waste, aluminum cans, and glass bottles. One of the areas that has a huge revenue generator here is the used cooking oil, the carton boxes. These two areas, you find a huge amount of money coming in back to the teams. And one of the initiatives that I've actually been rolling out in the past place where I was working in JA, the resort, which is the largest experience resort in Dubai, back in the days, we had sustainability champions recycling all these areas, and the amount of money that we would make, we would not take it back again into the revenue of the hotel. We will give this amount of revenue back into the champions and to the sustainability committee so that we can encourage them to continue doing the right thing. And at the end of the day, it's some money in their pocket, right? But they're doing the right thing. I believe this is the way forward. We should all be thinking of these sort of steps. Again, for me, when I move this into the next slide, I'll be focusing more about the food waste, because food waste is the biggest challenge we have in the hotel sector. I believe if we can be able to tackle food waste, then half of your waste problems will be gone. This is my opinion, just my belief. Did you know that roughly a third of the world's food is wasted? That's about 1.3 billion tons a year. This is just some stats for you to understand the significant importance of how we need to manage food waste. If food waste were a country, it would be the world's third largest emitter of CO2 after China and the US. All right? So that's how critical this area is. In the UAE, currently, it's the world's largest per capita generator of food loss and waste. 80% of the food is imported. 38% of the food prepared are wasted daily. 2.7 kgs per person per day. 6 billion dirhams in revenue are wasted. About to 3.2 million tons estimated. This is data from a few years back, 2 years back, but I'm sure the data is pretty much in line with this. It's just to give you an overview, so you have an understanding about the impact of food waste. I want to discuss about food waste in hospitality. I know I'm not going to talk about recycling aluminum cans, plastic, all these things we all understand that we need to do. But the food waste area, for me, I think in Millennium Resorts and Hotels, for instance, we have put this as one of the highest priorities. We want to make sure that we put measures in place on how we manage food waste on two folds. One is how we track, monitor, and make sure that we have data to tell us how much food waste we are producing. Because the chefs in the kitchen, they should understand their food costs. They should understand how much food is going into the waste. And then after that, how do we repurpose the food in the back end? Because again, the food will end up in your skips. When they end up in your skips, they go back into the landfill. So we also need to think of how do we repurpose this food waste in the back end and make some soil conditioner that again, we are closing that circular economy loop. So again, monitoring the overproduction, we've got solutions currently in place that manage to monitor food waste. You can be able to tell the data on what type of food
Dreaming
waste,
of your
is
ideal
going to the
career?
bin. And in the back end, you've got also solutions that can assist you to be able to have that soil conditioner. I'll be wrapping up shortly. I don't want to hear the bell. And lastly, just to share a quick slide about what we're doing in Millennium. We have a Millennium Green Path. Oh, come on. We have a Millennium Green Path, which talks about minimizing our environmental impact of operations. We have to also think of responsible sourcing, because at purchasing level, if you don't control waste from a purchasing level, it's still going to be a problem. So you have to have those discussions with your procurement team. And then guest education and engagement, we've all agreed. We're going to discuss that in the panel discussion. We do have a brand playbook that we've communicated to all the hotels, so they have an understanding on what are the key areas that we're looking at: energy, water, waste, responsible consumption. We've got our Green Path collateral, which is a document that tells you all the collateral in place, the key cards, what you need to have. And then if you don't have brand standards, all right, so I'll just finish up. If you don't have your brand standards, then it still will be a challenge for you. Our top priorities in Millennium. Some? Okay, I'll come back here. This is funny. All right, so our top priorities in Millennium is waste management, brand audits, and digital reporting platform. We'll talk more about digital reporting platform, because currently what we have in hospitality is a lot of Excel sheets. Again, Excel, it's, if you put garbage in, it's garbage out. So again, we need to have proper digital platforms that can track data and track trends. But we'll discuss more about that. Thank you so much. I'll invite the panelists, Rayya and Enas, please come on stage and join me. Thank you. All right. I hope this is the part that we won't hear the bell again. All right, so thank you so much for joining this panel discussion, Enas and Rayya. I think most importantly is to have an open conversation with the audience and with the panelists. Please feel free to ask questions. Let it be an open discussion. I'd love to hear your opinion. We'd love to hear your feedback as well, and we'd love to have your input, all right? So to start off, one of the questions that I wanted to share with you, maybe one of you can pick this up. What do you see as the biggest challenge in waste management today, particularly in the urban environments? Would you like to go first, Enas?
Yes. So I believe that one of the biggest challenges that we are facing in the waste management industry is the proper sorting and segregation. How to persuade the people to start with segregation from source. Because imagine with me, if the waste is coming to Tadweer and mixed with everything, paper with plastic with carton, mixing. It's a fully mix. How we will use and how we will make to separate this paper and carton, because logically, paper carton, if you mix it with food, with plastic, it will get contaminated and wet, which means that it's rejected and going to landfill. That's why one of the biggest challenges, waste segregation, the proper waste segregation, and it's important also to make sure that the people understanding how to sort, what is recyclable, what is non-recyclable, because there is a confusion in this part. So it's need more education, more knowledge, transfer the knowledge to the people on this.
I must agree with what she says, because I've also, in my past experience, and also when I go around the hotels, they will segregate things that don't need to be recycled. I've worked with beer before, and I think Sherry is here in the room also. Hi Sherry. It's important to have those waste companies come into your organization and educate your teams on what items that need to be segregated. And I think it's an important part of it.
And just to add on this, totally, I think sorting of waste is key to maximize diversion, right? Waste diversion and maximize, to landfill and maximize recycling. But the key challenge is really waste, the amount of waste generated. And it goes back to material consumption. It goes back to our consumption pattern. It goes back to procurement. So it is extremely important to think about sustainable procurement. So really avoid waste. So we want to maximize recycling. We want to minimize waste to landfill, and sorting is a key fundamental challenges, and awareness, and all the work that Tadweer is doing has been amazing. But it is also always be mindful to start from this first part of the hierarchy and rethink what we consume and how we consume.
One of the things I also must add, because we are aware about the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle. I go a step further and say the first part would be refuse. And then the last part should be rethink, right? So I think we should also start refusing things that we feel are not really important to buy or to put in the organization. So next question, what role should the private sector play in addressing the waste crisis? Are there successful models of public-private partnerships in waste management?
Yes, actually, Tadweer is an example for this. We have a strategic partnership for the last 20 years with Dubai Municipality, and I think we are doing great with them, and I believe that the public and the government is very important role, and it's very important the collaboration to happen between these two parties to have the best result in the waste management.
Okay. What sort of partnership do you have with the Dubai Municipality?
We have
Maybe
a strategic partnership with them in Tadweer, and let's say that they are a partner in Tadweer since we start, and they give us the land, and we do the sorting, we do the segregation, we do the recycling, we have the people, we have the machines, we have the engineers, and there is another example in Singapore, I believe. The National Environmental Agency there, they already partner with a lot of private companies just to do waste to energy incinerate 90% from the MSW there, and I believe they are reaching to a very high recovery percentage on this.
Wow, interesting. So I believe maybe from a hotelier's point of view, if there's private-public partnership, why don't we also think of going a step further and supporting those hotels with having, if Dubai Municipality can give land, why don't we also have an area where hoteliers can get a compost section, you know, for recycling, and having those huge capex compost machines, which sometimes hotels cannot afford, centralized, you know, 3, 4, 5 hotels sharing that resource. Maybe something also that can be thought about. Maybe Rayya, have some thoughts.
Definitely. And looking at it from also a different angle. The private sector is the pulse of implementation, right? So the private sector will be able to highlight challenges, highlight opportunity, and I reiterate the importance of the point that Talid made. They have the opportunity and the power to inform policy, right? So there is an element of working with the public and private sector to kind of raise awareness and to kind of like deploy a series of pilot programs that could be scaled up. But it is extremely important for the private sector and public sector to work together to shape the policy that will actually drive change in the waste sector in the region.
Great. I think maybe just to ask the audience one of the questions here that I have in mind. What sort of challenges do you face when it comes to your area, when it comes to government support? What do you feel needs to be done more from a local authority point of view, from a government point of view? I know, I do understand that we do get a lot of support from them, but what else do you think is something that could be added into this? Probably, maybe one of the audience can, I think we have a gentleman here. Please feel free to ask questions so it can be more interactive. And
yeah. Hi, I'm Hem Lakhani from AccuFlex Global, one of the first few companies in the UAE to help replace plastic in a complete packaging solution. We embarked our journey in 2022, and before the decree was being passed, and to reduce and completely get plastic out of our system has been an initiative since 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
sorry, could you speak up a little bit because we can't hear you?
Yeah, hi. Am I audible now?
Yes, they're better, much better. Yes.
In fact, we are proud partners with Dubai Economic Department and Tourism, and we were blessed that we've been invited by His Excellency Hilal Al Mari to come and do a presentation. The challenge what we face over here, it can be turned into an opportunity, because every challenge is an opportunity, right? So we, companies like us, when the policies are being laid, when the decrees have been defined and they've been laid out, we feel that there's always a tumblestone, or there's always a kind of a pathway break when we try to approach the corporates or the hospitality or any kind of industry where we are talking about, be it a retail or what. because awareness education is everyone knows about it, that we are sitting in a region where waste is one of the highest compared to rest of the world countries, right? But are we doing anything to make a change towards it? Are we accepting, because where we face challenges, whether it's a food waste management or reducing plastic, or it's to bring a complete environmental or eco-friendly change, is the commercial part of the business. Because what we feel is everywhere where we go today and we talk about bringing a change to our corporate, the bottom line comes to what is the commercial. That's the biggest challenge which we face across.
Great, and I think in the room we do have the local authorities representation, and I'm sure they're taking note of this, so thank you so much for sharing that, and we appreciate that. I would like to ask you, panelists, sorry.
Should we reply?
Sorry?
Should we reply? A quick reply?
Yes, please, feel free.
Just to pick up on that, and that's a very valid point. What's the cost to action, right? But what's the cost to inaction? Policy are changing. It costs money to throw waste to the landfill now, right? There will be packaging, probably policy that will draft costs in a certain direction. Waste service provider can provide probably benefits if you're recycling, if you're giving them the plastic that they can then recover, right? So it's always thinking about what is the cost of inaction in an ecosystem where the regulation and the regulation and the economic instruments are maturing. And yeah, waste is always tricky, and this is probably always the least element tackled. But for example, now I'll take carbon as an example. So in the UAE, there is a law that is going to be deployed in May, kind of requiring everyone to report against their emission. And failing to that means there will be financial penalties. So the point is that it is extremely important to have a forward look and be mindful that regulatory and economic instruments are maturing and are changing. And it's a system change, right? It's not, there is a private sector that is going to drive change, that are going to show example, that are going to work closely with the public sector, but also the ecosystem is changing for it to make more business sense.
All right, I can see some questions on screen here. Thank you so much, Rayya. Why should I recycle at home if one truck picks up everything? Question for me?
Yes.
You'd like to take that?
Yeah, it's a very good question, actually. Because most of the people are telling me the same. So you need to make sure that the waste collector is already taking this and going for an MRF direct for the sorting and segregation. Because this is actually happening, and a lot of people are complaining that we are doing sorting, we are doing segregation, and we're doing our best, but make sure that ask the waste collector where it's going this and how it's treated this. And I believe that if every one of us stop and saying, "Alas, why I will do this?" No need. Who will take care? Who will start sorting and segregating this?
But also, sometimes one truck takes it all and send it to Tadweer, and they actually sort it in their facility.
Yes.
And when we went to visit Tadweer, they said, if actually people sort at home, I could maximize and increase my recycling rate by 25%, 30%, and etc. So yes, there is, in some instances, a truck takes it all, but there are companies that probably will benefit and will be more efficient if things are done at source.
And just put in your mind that not all the people are doing the same. So sometimes, even if we are putting a recycle bins, and it's a recycle bins, this is for papers, this is for carton, we do the trainings, the necessary data, information, and you will get surprised that what is coming to you, it's mixed. So it's need again to go for sorting and segregation to start sort again. So not all the people are following this. That's why it's a need to go again for a sorting and segregation.
There's another question for you, Enas. Do all waste companies do what you do, Tadweer?
Sherry is here also in BIA. He can ask you.
I think just to also, just to help you with that also, and I know we do have quite a lot of waste companies in the room. BIA is represented here, and I know that they pretty much do the same thing. They do support the whole ecosystem, but it also goes back into, you know, what do we do as individuals? And going back to your question, how do you, is all the waste going into one truck? It doesn't necessarily have to go into one truck. You can recycle, put your recycling areas, and the recycling companies can come and collect that. But anyway, over to you.
Plus the regulation. Now there is a big regulation and policies. Now in waste management and waste disposal, the people are paying too much. So you have to start to think on this, because I believe that in the future, it will be a must. So you have to now think and prepare yourself for the future, rise or fall.
Okay, I think in the essence of time, there's a question here on screen. What needs to happen for hospitality companies to put up a mandate on food waste in their hotels, since it represents both sustainability and economic benefits? Okay, great. That's why I shared on screen today. Companies are taking measures in terms of repurposing waste on the back end. For instance, the resort where I worked before, we introduced a back end solution where we were repurposing up to 500 kgs of waste every day. Then that generates soil conditioner, which is again sent into the biofarms. So we are closing the loop. And in the front of house, we do have a solution that would track the waste in the bins, so you're able to detect which items are being wasted the most, and the chefs are able to reduce the overproduction. So it's a two-way approach. If you don't have these two solutions, it might be a challenge for you in the hotel industry when you're trying to manage your waste. But again, it goes back to the resources. You need to have your recycling bins in place. Your team needs to be aware. They need to be involved. They need to understand what is the whole process flow. But yeah, thank you so much. Very nice question. I think just to wrap it up, and before we can close that, I'd just like to ask one more question. Where do we see waste management in the next 10 years? I know we've set very ambitious goals, and this is something that I've been thinking about, supporting the net 2050 vision. How are we going to achieve that? I mean, there's a lot of things that are still being generated, but still, we have a long way to go. Maybe it's something one of the audience can add, or anyone who would like to add to this question. Just one person, please. Where do we see waste in the next 10 years? Mr. Sherry, can I hand over that to you? Sorry, I put you on the spotlight. Please introduce yourself as well, Sherry. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, since I've been asked and put on the spot, I think, to be honest, my personal opinion is our industry will not be required anymore, because there are more and more solutions of happening at source, meaning that...
Could you speak up a bit?
Materials will be precious and segregated at source. So citywide treatment at the end of the city line will become more and more expensive, and making it more feasible to treat and process things at source. So there is, let's say, there is a sort of increase in risk if you don't manage your waste properly and build that culture into your organization. That's what I think. If you see, there are food composting solutions, there are waste processing solutions coming at source, and there's a lot of talk about source segregation. If that doesn't happen, I think we have a huge cost coming and hitting all our businesses. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Sherry is the head of sustainability from BIA. BIA, they've done a remarkable work in Sharjah, so it's a story that is worth looking into, how they've managed to divert waste from landfill, and it's a great story. So I think I'd like to wrap it up in the essence of time. One last key takeout from the panelists.
Yeah, sure. I just also, if I could reply on that 10-year question, I don't think we'll be using the term waste. It's probably going to be either discarded material or etc. And we've seen that change in terminology in a number of new countries, new development, new cities. And hopefully, all our buildings and all our hotels development will just be an urban mine. And that's probably how I see it in 10 years.
Final remarks from your side, so we can close it up. Anything you'd like
I'll go back to the presentation data is gold, right? And with the calculators that Dubai Sustainable Tourism has kind of worked with all of you, use the data to inform your next action. Use the data to understand the problem. Use the data to select the next initiatives that you want to deploy. Don't run two streams in parallel, programs and data. That data is really gold.
Thank you. Enas, last
From my
remarks?
side, just before buying anything from now, ask yourself, do I really need this? In the last 6 months, I used this before, and when you go for buying food, think, am I really hungry? Or I'm just feeling sad or anxiety or happy, then I'm buying. Just give yourself 5 minutes to think before you go for buying. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Enas. Thank you so much. I'll just have a final closing remarks. In closing, I'd like to state that it's important to remember that waste management is not just a responsibility. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to rethink how we consume, produce, and recycle in ways that protect our environment and secure a sustainable future. As we move forward, let us commit to innovation. Let us commit to collaboration, because collaboration is very strong. The power of collaboration, I've seen it personally. And fostering a circular collaboration and action. The steps we take today in reducing waste, conserving resources, and fostering a circular economy will define the legacy we leave for future generations. Together, we can transform waste from a burden into a resource, and in doing so, we'll build a cleaner, greener, and more resilient world. My final remarks, sustainability is not a plan B, because we do not have a planet B. Thank you. Thank you so much.